Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the Transferring EU Public Policies into Regional Social Innovation, Improving Active and Healthy Aging for the Better Society Conference. We are very happy to host colleagues from EIP on AHA and colleagues interested in promoting active and healthy aging in Valencia, because we are convinced that promoting good health through the life course impact in the well-being of all people. That is the reason why one of the Polystar main research topic is focused on encouraging active and healthy aging, promoting integrated health and social systems to improve innovative solutions for the quality of life and well-being of all citizens. Along these 2 days, we are putting together European and non-European stakeholders working to improve the quality of life of all people to discuss how can we contribute to encourage active and healthy aging while leveraging the opportunity of the silver economy and the blueprint strategy, exchanging regional and national good practices from a quadruple helix perspective. Today, we'll focus our work around the EIP on AHA launched by the European Commission. And as you know, EIP is a pilot initiative promoted to foster innovation in the field of active and healthy aging. The concept of European Innovation Partnership is a new approach to EU research and innovation. It brings together all relevant actors at EU, national and regional levels across different policy areas to face specific societal challenges and involves all the innovation chain levels. The EIP on AHA was the first one created in 2011, and Polystar Research Institute was involved from its beginning. The AHA is divided in six action groups and distinguishes reference sites like the region of Valencia, in my view, a really good example of synergies and solutions implemented between different actions from a holistic point of view or approach. During this morning, we will have the opportunity to analyze in depth the digital single market and the EU health priorities with Horst Kramer from the General Directorate for Communication, Networks, Content and Technology, e-health, well-being and aging. We'll learn more about the monitoring and assessment framework for the EIP on active and healthy aging main feed tool with Francisco Lupiáñez from Open Evidence. And then we'll have an interesting roundtable showing how to transfer EU policies to the regional and local level. Later, we will enjoy on the potential funding opportunities in the field of aging and health with Miriam Fernandez from the Finance and EU Funds General Directorate from the Valencia region. After that, Roberto Zufada from FUNCANU will share with us the results and goals achieved with the PROIB-AHA project. Finally, Age Platform Europe will launch the first edition of the EU Silver Economy Awards. During the afternoon, the 6 action groups and the reference sites will continue working in the action plan agreed at the beginning of 2016. But before starting, I would like to tell you about my colleagues in this welcoming. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce you Mercedes Berenguer from the Deputy of Welfare from the County of Valencia, and Rafael Monterde, Director of Las Naves, this nice new working building where we are placed today. So, thanks so much for coming and attending, and I hope you enjoy the work and your time in our city, Valencia. Thank you very much. Mercedes Berenguer, the floor is yours.
Well, Mercedes is she. I'm gonna try to translate her message.
Buenos días. Primero, muchas gracias a toda la organización por invitarme aquí y gracias a todos ustedes por estar aquí y por participar en la innovación en lo que puede ser el envejecimiento activo y saludable. Ya la Organización Mundial de la Salud, en el documento suyo Envejecimiento Activo, lo definía como un proceso de optimización de las oportunidades de salud, participación y seguridad con el fin de mejorar la calidad de vida a partir de que las personas envejecen y permitir la realización de su potencial físico, social y mental a lo largo de todo su ciclo vital. Pero ese concepto...
Sí, voy a ir poco a poco, sí. Porque si no, así...
Poco a poco.
Bueno, aunque puedo ir leyendo. So, she wants to stress that the WHO, the World Health Organization, already said in the document Active Aging Political Framework in 2002, defined already what it means active aging as the optimization process of the opportunities of health, participation and security in order to better to improve the quality of life in the aging process.
Pero el concepto activo, ese concepto de activo que decía la Organización Mundial, no solo se refiere a la capacidad de estar físicamente activo, sino más bien a la participación activa de las personas y en este caso de las personas mayores. Como bien saben ustedes, la promoción del envejecimiento activo es una cuestión clave y no solo para las personas mayores, lo es para todos. Y paro.
So, the concept active, when we are talking about active aging, does not only refer to the capacity of being physically active, but also to the participation in society and what is this active participation of people in society and in this case of aging population or elderly people.
Lo es para todos el concepto de activo, ya que se fundamenta en la igualdad de oportunidades, en la preservación de la autonomía personal de los mayores, de su dignidad como personas y en el reconocimiento y el aprovechamiento de sus potencialidades y el aprovechamiento, pero también en la solidaridad intergeneracional, en la alta calidad de la atención y en la eficacia y en la eficiencia y en la prestación de esos servicios. Todos salimos ganando así.
So, this active aging is a key question not only for elderly, not only for the aging population, but for all of us. And it's about, we are talking about also the equality in opportunities, in the preservation of the personal autonomy of these elderly people and their dignity as person, in the acknowledgement and benefiting from their potentialities, and also of the intergenerational solidarity. And also we are thinking about the high quality of the assistance, of the services that are addressing them, and also in efficacy and or effectiveness and efficiency of these services that are addressing them. We all win.
En el marco de una sociedad moderna y progresista por la que todos trabajamos y como la que todos deseamos, los intereses de las personas mayores, su pluralidad, sus nuevos hábitos, su expectativa vital, sus necesidades reales y diversas nos plantean la necesidad de un cambio urgente y profundo en la consideración como un grupo pasivo, como se les tenía habitualmente. demandante de prestaciones y destino de gasto público, a más bien el contrario, como ciudadanos y ciudadanas con derechos, sin ningún tipo de marginación y con un desarrollo personal y una vida más plena.
In the framework of a modern and progressive society, we are working all in, and we all wish to have the interest of these elderly people, their plurality, their new habits, their vital expectatives, and their real needs. It makes us think, or makes us have to think about a change, an urgent and deep change in the consideration of this group, and not thinking about this group as a passive group anymore, as it was usual before, and to think of them being active and active citizens with rights, and also avoiding any kind of margination and isolation in the society.
Las personas mayores son ciudadanos de pleno derecho y representan un colectivo cada vez mayor y mucho más importante para nuestra sociedad. Tenemos la enorme responsabilidad y la gran suerte también de compartir todo aquello que ellas y ellos han vivido, han ido incorporando a sus vidas a través de años de vivencias y experiencias. Aquella fantástica frase de «hay mucha vida después de la jubilación» es una gran verdad que además comparto.
These elderly people are citizens with full rights, and they represent a group in the population that is growing and growing. And it's very important for our society nowadays. So we have the great responsibility, and also we are lucky for that, to share with them all that they have incorporated in their life during all their lives, and getting benefit from all these results and experiences.
Ya no es posible continuar valorando negativamente el fin del periodo laboral de una persona cuando hoy en día la realidad es que esta finalización responde más bien al contrario, porque entre otras cosas supone poder disfrutar de un tiempo valiosísimo que puede jugar a nuestro favor y no en contra, como viene ocurriendo ya desde hace demasiado tiempo. Y nos sirve este tiempo para ayudarnos a construir una manera diferente y a nuestro gusto de vivir, de relacionarse, de sentir y participar a partir de los propios potenciales de las cosas en las que uno cree, de los deseos y hasta de los sueños.
There is a lot of truth behind the phrase, there is much life after retirement, and it's needed to promote a shift of the conception of life after retirement. Thinking about this phase, as a phase where we can do a lot of things and perform our lives with more freedom, and take this value time to make things in our favor.
De los sueños. Porque no es verdad que la ilusión y los sueños se van diluyendo conforme envejecemos. Nos hacemos mayores, pero seguimos vivos y activos. Y hacernos conscientes y corresponsables de todo esto es para mí verdaderamente el verdadero envejecimiento activo. Por ello, la apuesta debe incluir una nueva actitud que exige de todos, instituciones, mundo empresarial, educativo, colectivos, la sociedad en general, la atención necesaria hacia los temas que rodean a las personas mayores, abriendo puertas a un nuevo envejecimiento activo y saludable para que estas personas puedan aportar, como cualquier otro ciudadano o ciudadana, su productividad social sin necesidad de sustituir ni a nada ni a nadie, para poder reflexionar, dialogar y compartir conocimientos y sentir que siguen formando parte activa de la sociedad en la que participan.
It's not true that the illusion and dreams are getting away with this aging process. So when we age, we are still alive and active, and we need to be aware and co-responsible for all of this and all this promotion of the active aging. So the real commitment of all the society as a whole, including institutions, companies or the private world, education, different groups of the population and the society as a whole, needs to be strong and needs to walk to the real assistance that aging population are demanding. So to adapt all these demands and take them into account. And And yes, and make them feel they're still part of the active society and part of the whole.
Esa sociedad en la que participan de múltiples maneras en la construcción de nuestro presente y nuestro futuro, pero una sociedad más humana, amable y amigable para todos y sobre todo para aquellos y aquellas personas más vulnerables. De la cultura del tener, de la acumulación material, a la del ser, teniendo en cuenta las potencialidades de cada persona dentro de un modelo más humanizado que haga hincapié en la calidad humana y que considera a la persona en todas sus dimensiones, creativa, experiencial, física, emocional, social, sin edades ni limitaciones.
So we have to think about a society where everybody can participate in the construction of our present, but also of our future, for a society that has more humanity and is more friendly, especially towards the most vulnerable groups. We need to shift from the culture of having material things to the culture of being, having into account all the potential that every person has within a model of society much more human, that stress the human quality and then considers every person in all his or her dimensions: creative, experience, physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual. I don't know if it does exist in English, without considering age and limitations.
El objetivo es fomentar la participación activa y para ello nuestros programas de bienestar social dirigidos a personas mayores en la Diputación de Valencia incluyen propuestas para la promoción de la salud y el bienestar, servicios para la prolongación de la autonomía personal y la residencia en el propio hogar, como es la teleasistencia, proyectos de participación social y voluntariado propios o en colaboración con diferentes colectivos, talleres prácticos de formación que incluyen alimentación adaptada y saludable, comunicación y relaciones, tecnologías de la información y la comunicación adaptadas y aplicadas a la vida cotidiana, iniciándose en todos los dispositivos móviles personales, tablets o smartphones, internet o redes sociales, que sirvan para ampliar y mejorar sus posibilidades de comunicación con un entorno más cercano, seguridad y prevención de accidentes domésticos, herramientas para ejercitar la memoria, el ejercicio físico activo y la movilidad, conservar la autonomía y el cerebro joven, ocio creativo y cultural, con programas como Esto es la DIPU, entre muchos otros.
Well, from the county institute, Mercedes Berenguer represents the county institution, and from there are several programs of social well-being and social welfare addressing older people in the province of Valencia. And these programs and these activities include programs for the promotion of the health and well-being, services for maintenance of personal autonomy, and keeping people living in their homes, like the telehealth program, which is very, very successful here in the province, and projects that promote the social participation, own programs, and also programs that promote this social participation in collaboration with other entities in the county that are very active in this field. Practical workshops for training, including, for example, interesting topics as healthy diet and healthy nutrition, communication and relationships, ICT applied to the daily life of this group of population, and also introducing them to the use of applications and new devices such as smartphones, tablets, and so on. Also promoting the use of internet and social networks, and always apply or with the final objective of improving their possibilities of communication with their network and with their environment. Also, they have programs regarding the prevention and security of domestic accidents, and also tools to, for example, foster avoiding cognitive impairment, also promoting physical exercise, mobility, preservation of the autonomy, and many others that are directly addressing the demands of this population in the county of Valencia.
Como decíamos hasta ahora, tenemos ante nosotros el reto de dejar de ver a las personas mayores como un coste añadido, antes al contrario, cambiando esta visión por la de percibirlos como un recurso con que contribuir a la sociedad y fortalecer el capital social en la construcción de una ciudadanía activa, plenamente implicada en sus espacios comunes y de convivencia, comprometida con la sociedad en que viven. Es importante trabajar para posicionarnos en todos aquellos temas que sobre las personas mayores y su envejecimiento activo y saludable consideramos claves para que nuestro territorio, nuestra ciudadanía, avance por un camino que termine transformando una realidad que ya no nos sirve, que tiene en su base el diálogo constructivo y la aceptación de los diferentes puntos de vista y la voluntad de hacer posible el acercamiento entre todas las personas desde el respeto y la confianza entre todos, sin edad, pues.
So, as said before, we have in front of us the challenge to go away from the consideration of the elderly people like a cost for society, and just the opposite, changing this vision to the vision of seeing them as a resource that can contribute to society and can reinforce the social capital in the construction of the active citizenship and completely involved in the common spaces and the common networks and committed to the society they live in. So as final idea, Mercedes wants to stress that it's important to work on the really relevant topics that affect all elderly people and their active and healthy aging, considering here in our territory this as a key question, and also considering their citizenship as a key question, and to go forward to the way that allows us to transform reality, a reality that does not work anymore, and that has the base of dialogue in a constructive dialogue, and the acceptance of the different perspectives of all the groups that take part in society, and the volunteer to make it possible to get closer, to make these groups get closer from the respect and the confidence among everybody, without age.
Muchas gracias. Y ahora damos paso a don Rafael Monterde, director de aquí de Las Naves. Gracias, buenos días.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, and welcome to Las Naves. I'm gonna say just a few words of welcome, just a few, don't worry. Thanks to Polybean Research Institute and the University of Valencia to invite us to this opening, and especially to our colleague and friend, Professor Jordi Garcés. As the hip-hop singers usually say, Jordi, it's a great pleasure to have you in the house. So let me just say a few words of who we are, Las Naves, and how we work. We are a public institution, the municipality of Valencia, that promotes urban innovation with a clear commitment to people. We always put them at the center of innovative action. We really believe in the social dimension of innovation, so we want to contribute to improve the quality of life of our citizens in Valencia with unknown or not yet implemented approaches. For that, in our strategy, we selected 5 main sectors to work here in Valencia and to put this approach into practice, which is mobility, energy, agri-food, health, and finally the culture sector. But we also want to do that in a special way. We want to do innovation with the participation of all the stakeholders. As Jordi mentioned before in the speech, the so-called the 4 helix approach of innovation. So first, the public sector in different dimensions from the national level to the local level. Second, the private sector from the big companies to especially the small entrepreneurs, startups, etc. Third, the academic and research sector, the universities, the research institutes like Polybean centers, etc. And last but not least, very important for us in our innovation approach, the civil society. And to do so, we have different instruments. First, we we work with innovation projects, usually supported by European funds, where we do experiments here in the city to prove new technologies, new services, or new business models, and we try to generate evidence, which is very important for us, to generate evidence to inform the public decision makers. Second, we try to deploy what we call the connected networks, the innovation networks in the city, in these 5 main sectors, to create a common framework to diagnose needs and commonly co-create solutions to city challenges with the participation of these stakeholders. Third, we try to support our city council as a public institution in different public innovation policies, helping them, helping the decision makers to implement new approaches as, for example, probably you know, the public procurement of innovation, or including social and environmental clauses in the procurement processes. And finally, we have here, right up here, what we call the Collab. The Collab is a workplace to support entrepreneurs, startups, etc., to develop innovative solutions for the city with us. We really believe in the great potential of collaboration and co-creation of new public policies that European partnerships give to us. That's why here in Las Naves, we develop projects for the city under Horizon 2020, Life Plus, Interreg, etc., as well as we are members of another European Innovation Partnership, which is the Smart Cities EIP. As you know, city councils are the closest public administrations to the citizens' everyday lives. That's why we are really aware that we have to deal with the needs of our elderly people and find innovative solutions for them to enjoy the last part of their lives. For us, innovation, particularly in health policies, system, or services, it's not only about using technology, advanced technology, etc., but also to listen to people and integrate them in the design and the development of these new ideas. And this is what we are trying to put into practice, for example, in the project that we call Activate. You can find the brochure in your seats. I'm sorry, it's the commercial part of our work, yeah? So this is a European partnership, for example, funded by Age2020, aimed to develop an Internet of Things ecosystem for active and healthy aging. With a combination of new existing devices and the great potential of the so-called big data analysis, we want to extend the autonomous life of elderly people by 2 years. But we are convinced that we also would get more benefits with this project. Let me mention a few. For example, reducing the stress of families, and especially the women who usually develop this informal care, or improving the efficiency of the resources investment in public social services, generating new job profiles for care systems, etc. It's a great pleasure for us to host such a magnificent event as this workshop under the umbrella of the European Innovation Partnership of Active and Healthy Aging. Thank you again for being here. I hope you enjoy this nice place called Las Naves, and I wish you a both productive and, of course, pleasant day here in Valencia. Thank you so much.
I guess I just take over. Good morning, everyone. My name is Horst Kramer. I'm from the European Commission. Oh, wait, sorry, I didn't bring my own sign. Thanks for the fantastic introductions. I think a lot of true words we just heard. The role of active aging and healthy aging. Sort of, we have this acronym AHA, and sometimes we forget that these are two components that really are related to each other and really interact. And it's great to be at a reference site of the European Innovation Partnership. I think that's a fantastic thing. We heard about the quadruple helix approach, so getting everybody, all the relevant stakeholders on board in innovation, and to see that this works on the ground, works at the municipal and regional level, and also that there's interest in exchange with other regions across Europe. This is sort of also something that's very interesting for us as the European Commission to see that this works, so it's very encouraging to see that, and this event is really an expression of these things. What I would like to do, I think I can't promise you that I'm not going to talk a lot. I may talk a lot, actually. And I have quite a few slides, but don't worry as well. We're going to go through them quite quickly because I also want to get into the dialogue, into the exchange as quickly as possible. But what I would like to try to do is give you an update of sort of latest developments at the European level and how that relates to some of the work that's been done in the European Innovation Partnership and how that relates to some of the work that has been done also by the regions and in the exchange of the regions. We have some results from an ongoing study that we're getting about the European Innovation Partnership, specifically with regard to scaling up innovation that happens on the ground, and I will share a bit about that, but all of this in relation to recent developments, and the main development there is that the European Commission is following an initiative that is called the Digital Single Market. So the single market in Europe applied to the digital sphere. You've heard a lot about roaming fees, about digital content that you can use across Europe. These are things that are elemental parts of the digital single market. And now, after 2 years of this initiative, the Commission has taken a look at what's been achieved and sort of pointed out some things that still need to be done. And let's see what that means for us. So let's get into the things. Here I'm actually missing a little bit of a picture, but it's okay. So you may have heard that President Juncker, a couple of months ago actually now, presented a white paper, a so-called white paper on the future of Europe, which sounds very big and majestic, and it certainly is also to be seen as sort of a trigger to think about how we want to design the European Union further down the road, also against the issue of Brexit, for example. And interestingly, this white paper points out two things that affect us very much. First of all, the question of demographic change, which is very relevant in Europe. Europe is and will continue to become the oldest region in the world. So this is something where, of course, there's a challenge, and at the same time, already the white paper points out that this can also be seen as an opportunity for leadership of Europe in the world. And the second thing is the digitization of society, so the ongoing digitization. These things, in our thinking, go hand in hand, and we heard a lot about interesting approaches here in Valencia, for example, about telehealth, those kind of things, but also approaches of making sure that all citizens are active members of society, regardless of their age. And so this is something that is now recognized as central to the future of Europe. And at the same time, if we look at the particular issue of the digital single market, it has been shown that a lot has been achieved. From next week, roaming charges will not be in existence anymore in Europe. But at the same time, there's still a lot of things to be done. And now this paper that has been published, called the Midterm Review of the Digital Single Market, points out that one of the major fields in which we need to do more to actually reap the benefits of digitization across Europe is health. And that in relation to the demographic change, I think is very interesting. It has a lot of sort of repercussions on the work in the regions as well, and also in the context of the European Innovation Partnership. And that's what I want to point out a little bit. I'm not going to bore you with stats, but this Digital Single Market Review came out just after a Eurobarometer poll that asked more than 20,000 citizens of Europe about their views on digital issues in medicine, in health. And interestingly, we have a low number of people that have received digital health services in the past year, but quite a high number who say, actually, we could do more in terms of digital exchange of data with professional practitioners. This number of 70% is, from my point of view, was surprisingly high. It relates to exchange of data with doctors and health professionals. The number gets lower quite quickly when you ask about other purposes, so that's something we still need to explore. But there is unused potential there, even with regard to what people want to do with their data. And this is what it says actually in this paper. It says the Commission will adopt within this year a communication. Communication is a paper that the Commission puts out in order to spell out policy initiatives that are necessary to reach a certain goal regarding digital health and care in line with legislation to the protection of personal data, patient rights, and electronic identification. So this is our homework, basically. And it specifies actually 3 pillars, and I'm going through them quite quickly because I will pick them out later. The first is, we can be summarized as access to health data. And that is something that some people think should actually be sort of a no-brainer, if you like, that citizens, patients should have easy access to their own data, but which is not the case. If you allow me the personal story, my mother is in hospital at the moment with a back pain. My father had to go to the general practitioner, pick up a CD-ROM, drive to the hospital, bring it there. It was the wrong one. He had to go back, do it again. And this is something that cannot be sustainable. This is in the 21st century. And the second pillar is that of, it's more, if you like, more research-oriented. It's pooling resources on research data on health. And this is also something that I think a lot of people in the fields will agree to will help advancing diagnosis, prevention, those kind of things. But it's not happening to the degree that it could happen at the moment. And the third pillar, and I personally call this is the EIP pillar, if you like. This is the pillar that looks at the involvement of people in health and care, in prevention, specifically with chronic diseases, and it also asks the question, why is there so much innovation out there, but why is it not happening at larger scale? So these great examples that we hear from the region, why do we not see them across the board, and why do we not have sort of the big European success stories in health innovation? So this is the third pillar. And so what we're doing at the moment, and I've been talking to some of you and said we're very busy, and this is part of why we're very busy at the Commission at the moment. We're thinking, how are we going to address this in this communication that we're supposed to put out? And there are some thoughts floating around Pillar 3, the EIP pillar, if you like, or some call it the integrated care pillar, or some call it the scaling up pillar, so you see where it's going. There are 3 main elements that we need. We see the good examples, and we need to support those that bring the good examples. So the first movers, if you like. You heard the word blueprint this morning. There's a thing called the Blueprint for Innovation in Health and Care in Europe, which is run by what we refer to as champions of innovation, who commit to investment in this innovation. And you may translate that into first movers. The second is transfer of innovation. I'm going to talk quite a bit about that in a bit. Something that what we have started doing in the context of the EIP with these twinning projects, and I'm going to talk about that. And scalable markets, what can we do, especially at European level, to enable investment, to make sure that people see the opportunities that there are in innovative health approaches, but also in the fields of independent living, for example, having people living at home for longer, for example. That's something that we heard already. So what needs to be done to make sure that this is happening at larger scale? But I'm saying we're not starting from scratch. So there are some very nice things that we see happening, especially in the context of the EIP. The reference sites, of which Valencia is one, that is, I think this is one of the big success stories that we can tell. We have identified regional champions, basically, in innovation. So that's a fantastic thing. And they are willing to cooperate and to become even better and even greater. So that's fantastic. We had a call for twinning of these reference sites in 2016. And these twinning projects have started. Some of them are ongoing, some of them I think are finished. And we've identified 20 pairs of twinning, for twinning activities, learning from each other, transferring one solution to the other. I think we'll hear about that throughout the day a bit more. This is just an overview where we can see that it is happening across Europe. It is not, and that has to be said, it's also one of the things that we need to address. It is not evenly distributed. I mean, there are centers. Spain is obviously a country where a lot is happening in the regions, and this is fantastic, but there are some sort of gray areas on the map still. So this is something that we need to address. This is just to show you that, that there is this mapping of those who have a solution, those who want to adopt a solution, and what it is. This is what's going on in the twinning. And this is now regularly being cited as the first example. It's a small one, I think, but it's something that shows what can be done. So the city of Porto has adopted an e-health solution, an app, actually, an app-based e-health solution from the region of Lazio in Italy as a result of this twinning exercise. So this is something where we can see, okay, it is happening. We see a good practice, it works at the regional level, and another region says, oh, we might try this as well. The Basque Country is very active in the twinning. They are actually exchanging with Scotland, Aquitaine, and Liguria. They're in 4 of these activities. One example is them as showing the way, as an originator of an innovation. It is a risk stratification approach that they take, that they teach to the other regions. And it is basically a cost projection exercise that is really interesting for the regional administrations as well. The opposite direction, the Basque Country as an adopter of a solution. Scotland has an internet-based portal called Living It Up, which is sort of they call it an empowerment tool for patients and for citizens. And the experience that is shared there from Scotland to the Basque Country is basically how to set something like this up. It is about co-creation, it's about user design. There's a lot of experiences there, and we're getting the results at the moment, and this is really interesting to see. Sometimes it's what you would expect. So I don't know, technological questions. What is the platform that you use? But sometimes it's also sort of unexpected results and experiences. What works and what doesn't in this kind of innovation steps. Another one, the Airways project from France, which is basically tested, if you like, in a number of regions across Europe, which is about allergies and respiratory diseases, and ongoing as well, and tested across Europe. So this is where we see, so if you like, the power of the innovation partnership. There are some preliminary experiences. Of course, this was a first exercise. We did it with limited resources. So some obvious lessons learned. It should be, the resources could be higher. There should be more time. We're asking too much documentation because we want to have these examples, these good cases. The budget is not enough. Calls for this should be more frequent so that people have a chance to basically join when it fits. And we also see that there are different types of transfer of innovation. So sometimes you have a solution, you have an app, you have a platform that can be transferred from one place to another, but more often than not, it's only part of that, or it is a process that is being transferred. So these are results that we're getting in that may also inform us further down the line when we say, how do we actually make sure that this infamous scaling up is happening? We get good practices from these experiences on how to set up a twinning itself. So you have a group that manages it, you have trainings, you have site visits, these kind of things. How do you get that? And we see from both sides of the twinning process what it brings for them, and that's also encouraging to see. For example, the mere fact that you're participating in a twinning and that you are an originator of an innovative solution is something that basically reinforces the innovation at home. You can tell people that other people are interested in your solution, and it is something that sort of raises interest and that is identified as a good practice. So that is something that is also interesting for those that implement it and those that fund it to promote it even more and to get more buy-in from all the stakeholders, including the citizens and, of course, themselves. And for those that get it, it is also a tool to raise awareness in their own region that it is possible to implement something, that you have good practices, that you have somebody who can help you, who can give you, who can share the experience, and that it makes sense to get everybody in a quadruple helix approach on board as well. So this is happening, of course. The main thing that we want out of this study, which is actually run in a project called Scale AHA, is we want to know what are the barriers, why is it not happening, and what are the opportunities, what are the chances that we have with these transfer exercises. And I will give you a few examples. I'm not going to go through all of them in detail because it's way too much, but you will be able to read the study later on. But just as examples, infrastructure and connectivity, something of course for us as the digital department in the European Commission, very interesting. So we get examples where it is actually the lack of connectivity or the lack of bandwidth that is a major barrier to the rollout of solutions. The example here is Twente in the Netherlands. And also in Galicia here in Spain, we saw a network issue as one of the main barriers. Interoperability at several levels. In many cases, it is semantic interoperability when we're talking, for example, about health records, which are not unified, and you don't know what the exact information is that you're exchanging. But it's also technical interoperability between different systems. What we've seen in several regions, for example, in France and in Italy, and also here in Valencia, we have an example where it was not always possible to sort of install a new system or to work with a new system based on the legacy systems that were still in place. So that's something, of course, where we, as the Commission, also can think about, does it need more standards? Do we just need to promote standards better? Or how do we create interoperability? Do we need common exchange formats, for example, for data, this kind of thing? Big issue, of course, financing reimbursement. Financing in general, who's going to invest in it in the first place? How is it going to start? How is it going to be maintained? And then fitting it to existing reimbursement models. And this we get this in different areas over and over again, especially in the health field, where it's, if you like, we have a bit of a sort of conservative environment in terms of these reimbursement models, and we really need to show these good examples of where somebody came with a new idea, very simple ones, for example, reimbursement of renting something instead of buying something, which could help. Nice things also the success factors that we see in the twinning. One is, and that is, I think this is not to be underestimated, is the political commitment. It needs somebody who tells the story and who really wants to achieve something in this innovation. And it's not always easy to sort of demonstrate the benefits within an election cycle. So that's something that really is important. A good example mentioned in the study will be Andalusia, where this is really a political priority, as it is here as well. The evidence base is another one, which is encouraging to us because we want to sort of try to have coherence between what we're funding in terms of research and innovation projects, mostly through the Horizon 2020 program, and what is happening in the regions. And if we get the feedback that the demonstration of feasibility of a solution or the acceptability of a solution helped in actually getting it implemented. That is something that is good to hear, and also is interesting to hear in the context of discussions about future funding cycles, and of course discussions about the next multi-annual financial framework are going on. So everything beyond 2020, basically, and that's interesting here as well. New business models. Again, a rental model versus a buying model. We've seen cases of freemium models in new solutions. For example, you give some basic services for free and then charge for advanced services. These are things that need to be explored further, and we need more good cases of that. Integration into an existing environment to basically to save costs and efforts on training, and also to make it more acceptable. So that's also something that we're seeing in these exercises. We have the good example from Valencia in terms of financing. So correct me if I'm wrong, but the case states that the payment of IT companies depends on the actual take-up of the system. So if the system is actually in use, the payment is higher than if the numbers of usage are low. So that's something, an interesting idea. There are some messages that we get from the study, and I just wanted to highlight that it says the twinning support scheme is aligned with the priorities of the digital single market strategy and should be used to support its agenda. And the way it looks now, things are falling into place quite nicely regarding this. And just to make sure that you also get the message that this is not the only thing that is happening in this field, but there are other things. For example, we have several initiatives on mHealth in particular, where we're also looking into regulatory issues, into, for example, the approval of apps, health and well-being apps, these kind of things. We have an industry-led code of conduct, which has been submitted in terms of privacy in mHealth apps. And we, of course, continue to do research funding. And there are several things going on there as well. A recent development project that has just started with the ITU and the WHO is the mHealth Hub for Europe. It started in March. There's not much to see on the internet yet, so if you Google it, you may just find the project description. The idea is to have a central resource for mainly national good practice in mHealth implementation, and this is something that also will feed back into the work in the regions, also in the context of the EIP. Another one, and some of you have been involved in this already. We're looking into what does it take to generate investment into what is usually referred to as age-friendly homes. And we have had a nice exercise where we went into several European regions and heard stories about actual investment that's happening, co-creation with citizens, but also sort of insecurity about what it actually means to have an age-friendly home, what the innovation is, and why it's not really clear what to invest in. And that's something where we think we can make a difference in bringing people together and defining what these elements are, and to sort of create an environment where it's easier to invest because you know what the return on investment will be. So this is another thing, and just to recap and to remind you why I'm saying all these things, for us it's interesting also to hear what the ideas are, how to put these principles, if you like, into action. So the access to health data, the research infrastructures, the pooling of resources, and integrated patient-centered care at scale. So these are the things that are our homework, and I would just like to point out that this is one of the opportunities to talk about this. There will also be a public consultation further down the line, which is in preparation at the moment. I cannot give you an exact date, but I encourage everyone to participate in this and to discuss this specifically against the particular background of this, which is active and healthy aging and demographic change. Thank you. That's a break. Yeah. Yeah. Questions?
You were so clear.
No. Can't believe that there are no questions. I have a lot of questions.
Maybe in the break they
Yeah,
have the,
and maybe when we have
yeah,
the panel. Am I going to be on the panel or not? I'm not really sure. Because is there going to be a...
so.
No, but that's
In the
fine.
round table,
Yeah.
you mean? I don't think
Okay.
so.
Good.
But if you
Even
wish,
better. I'm not applying for it. No. It's okay, but then
yeah.
let's take it from the break. It sounds like a break.
No. It's a time for.
No, un po', sì, che... Thanks. Sí, no, tranquil. No, a les 11 és el cafè i crec que ho necessito jo més que qualsevol. M'he aixecat a les 4, o sigui que... Hi. Sí. Començo o... Hello. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, first of all, thanks for inviting me. I don't have the ring to do like this, so there is coffee at 11, so if you want me to finish by 11, I may start now, if you don't mind. So my name is Francisco Lupiañez. I'm working together with colleagues from Empirica on a project, on a study called MAFAPE. First of all, as I was saying, thanks a lot for the invitation. It's very nice to be here with some faces that we are meeting over and over again. I have less than 1 hour, which I think is a lot of time. And I was supposed to do some kind of a workshop with participation from the users. Even though this space is designed to do this kind of events in a workshop way, let's say, I will try to go kind of quick through my presentations, and at any moment, please stop me if you have any questions or any doubt, because unfortunately, now we are not talking about innovation, but about evaluation. So I guess it's not as a hot topic as an innovation, but I guess it's also something that is needed if we want to foster innovation across Europe. First of all, a disclaimer. It's very important. The study was funded by DG Connect, but H3. But the content of this study and the case studies and all the material we are doing is not, let's say, responsibility or the European Commission, but it's the responsibility is on us, okay? I'm going to skip the context because we are all familiar, and after the presentation, we are all familiar with the EIP context, and I will go directly to the project. So it's not a workshop, but I would like to know how many people have heard about MAFAPE. Good, it's increasing the number. We started 1 year ago almost, and it's increasing. Okay. How many people have used it? And they have use cases. Don't be shy. I know the Basque Country has done something. Okay. Okay, so we have here the clear gap. Okay, before they were showing some figures. 70% of users are willing to or would like to have or share their health data. Okay, here people is aware about the tool, but not many people are using it. Okay, and probably it's our fault because we are not doing well our work. Okay, so for me this workshop is an opportunity to increase the level of awareness. To increase the level of awareness. Okay, we cannot reach 100% awareness. I mean, it's fine. The percentage is around 70% of awareness, but to fill this gap between, hey, I'm aware, I have heard about it, I think it's nice, it could be a good idea. Okay, let's try and let's use it. Okay, what is MAFAPE? MAFAPE is a tool, online tool to estimate health and economic outcomes. So it's a tool to assess innovation or innovative interventions. Okay, so I'm not sure, but correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the first time that the Commission has put in place such a tool for the interventions, and especially not just for EIP on a hub, but in general for innovative interventions. And the tool is online, so you can easily access the tool and use the tool. MAFAPE will help you to identify what drives intervention effectiveness and efficiency. So we have heard a lot of things about MAFAPE from users, but it's not, let's say, a framework to gather information like others. It's a tool, let's say, to assess effectiveness or efficiency. So some of the users have said, can I do return of investment with the tool? No. Can I do impact assessment with the tool? No. So you can do what is measure effectiveness and efficiency, and I think there is a lack of such a tools in the EIP on a context and beyond, so there is an opportunity for those conducting innovation in the field to prove that the innovation is cost effectiveness using this tool. And why we need to assess innovation? I think the main reasons is to support the decision-making process. Okay, we can conduct innovations, we can go to the market with the innovation, but at a certain point someone has to decide whether I put this or not into my healthcare system, I use this technology or not, I implement this innovation or not. So this tool will give you, let's say, support to this decision-making process. We'll tell you, yes, it's a good idea, it's cost effectiveness, or no, forget about it, it's just you're throwing away the money. It's a nice innovation, but it's not cost effectiveness. So it's not just about innovation, but proving that innovation is effective to make sure that we do not put ICT as a driver of healthcare expenditure. So it's not just we are spending money on IT, it's good for industry and so on and so forth, but also it's because it's effective, okay? What is good about the tool, or I think one of the strengths, is that it's flexible. It has to be, I mean, the tool was designed to assess, let's say, all the interventions related with the different action groups. You can imagine that it's not the same an intervention related to B3 with integrated care that another one related with falls, okay? The tool allows you to do both. And we have proved it because we have developed use cases in the website, checking different types of intervention, from integrated care to mental health, and interventions even with, let's say, with children. So the tool gives you let's say, the context to conduct an evaluation on any type of innovation, okay? You have to be, let's say, creative in the way you embed your intervention into the tool, okay? And how can you do that, okay? Normally when we talk with people, they start saying, well, I remember in Italy, in the last one of the last workshops, one doctor was a representative from a healthcare authority there. We were discussing about cost, and the person just said, hey, I need a 3 years project to assess the cost of this intervention. And I say, well, yeah, probably you are right if you want to publish in Nature, but if you are a healthcare manager, I'm sure that the physicians are getting paid, the nurses are getting paid, and so on and so forth. So I'm sure that you can get what we call the best on existing knowledge and practice. Sorry, yes, okay. So the best possible evidence available, okay? Yeah, I need this parameter, or I need this, I don't have it, I didn't capture during my intervention this indicator. Okay, you can go to the literature, you can go to the systematic review and check whether if other people have conducted the same time or similar type of intervention and extract the parameter from there and input into the model. So the tool, and this is another important thing, allows you to conduct not just ex-post assessment of the innovation, but also pre-commercial assessment. And for us, a good signal that this is possible is that the industry is approaching us to use the tool to assess what healthcare authorities will be buying. So even if the product or in the intervention is not implemented, is not in the market, you can conduct pre-commercial assessment to see whether your expectation about cost, your expectation about impact are, let's say, on the right direction or not. I better modify or shape my intervention in a different way. In this regard, facilitates both decision to buy and decision to invest. So it may help the innovators, the startups, or the industry, the big players, to assess what they are doing in a pre-commercial phase, as well as the decision makers to decide whether I go for this type of technology or this type of technology. We have conducted a very, very nice example that we are working on PPI with Galicia. Okay, so they launched this PPI for procurement process, okay? And we have developed a case where, okay, let's assess what you are asking, and let's assess what are the results in this regard. So at certain point, they will have a tool to monitor the process of innovation and to see whether there are major deviation from the aim they want to achieve. Okay. No, it was not here. This is the type of results, and then we go through a case, and you will see, you will obtain in the tool, okay? It's a cost utility analysis or cost effectiveness analysis where you assess through a Markov models that then I will go very quick through it, where is your intervention located in terms of if it's more expensive and worse, it means that the intervention in comparison with the baseline, it costs, in this case, more, and it has a worse impact in the utility or in the quality of life in the indicator you use. So you better start considering another type of innovation or doing another type of business. It's cheaper but worse. So it's okay, it's cheaper, but yeah, it's decreasing the quality of life. It's not allowing, for example, patients to access the healthcare system. It's a barrier for them, and this has an impact on the quality of their life. So it could be cheaper, it's fine, we save money, but the impact on the health status of the population or the quality of life is not positive, so maybe it's better to do something again. Cheaper and better, here is the aim. We should, all the intervention, all the innovation should aim to get into this quadrant. It's more expensive, but it's better. And here is where there is a role for willingness to pay, as following the NICE agency in the National Health Services, like, okay, it's better, but it's more expensive. Let's say, is the society willing to pay for this? Yes or no? And then you put a threshold and you decide whether you go for it or not. In any case, the tool will allow you to see whether your intervention is here or here. If you're conducting the assessment in a pre-commercial stage or in a pre-intervention stage, you can consider redesigning somehow your intervention to move to here or here. Okay, so moving from the, let's say, from these two quadrants to this or to this. So there is a tool, and now we all talk about co-creation, co-design, co-whatever, but it's for the patients. They are the ones doing that, right? In this case, we can do it too. So the aim of the project is not just to make users, to adopt the tool, but to improve the tool. So to co-create together and to develop a better tool for fitting the purposes of the users. In this regard, the project is not just about the tool, but also about building a community, okay? So let's say, oops, here. These are the 4 steps. Raise awareness, we are fine. We manage 70%, more or less now the tool. We are fine with that. Establishing a community of users, we are fine. We have a lot of people log in, and we have people using the tool by themselves, like in the Basque Country. We have people using the tool with our support. And we have use cases already published, okay? In the case of Badalona, a reference site, they have produced 3 use cases. So we have already a front runners like Badalona, Galicia, Basque Country, some regions in Italy, and some projects also, FP7 project, Smart Care, Care Well, Beyond Silos. We are working with them to produce, to use the tool, to prove that the tool is useful. So we have users, support. This is what we are offering, okay? In this case, what we try to do is to analyze the intervention you want to assess, okay? And help you to develop the case in a way that then, after this, you will be capable to implement this or to use this tool in your procurement process, in your interventions, or in whenever you want this type of support. And then through the use, not through being or not being aware, but through the use, we are getting a very, very valuable feedback. So we are capable to improve the tool based on the needs of the users. And I can tell you that, I mean, that it's a Markov, well, then I will go into the technicalities, okay? But it's through the use where we can identify the gaps and improve the tools. And also the different type of users, from industry, small startups, healthcare authorities, doctors, we see different needs. So we are implementing all of them in a way that they can make like a MAFEI tool, not a, let's say, European Commission tool, but your own tool. Yeah. This is the website, okay? It's online, it's mafei.eu. In the user support, you will, sorry, news and events, you will have the complete list of cases. We have already 7, I think, 7 use cases, and you can learn from their experience. Sometimes the cost of entrance is not free. It's like, okay, you can enter for free in the community, requesting the login and a password, but we know that it's quite challenging to start from scratch, okay? So you can start by reading the cases, by reading what others have been done, and lessons learned, like a twinning activity or something like that, but instead of going there, you just read the document, or maybe you can go there, who knows, okay? So then you have the user support space, where you have videos and tutorials to use the tool. I remember in one workshop we ran in Madrid, the Andalusian region were asking, yeah, it's fine, but if I want to, the tool is fine, and so on and so forth, but if I want to use the tool, I need a template for the dev to start thinking about the type of data or parameters I need, and go with my doctors or my nurses and send. It was really I may say, a stupid request, like, yes, it's very nice, but if I need the list of indicators, I have to go through all process. Could you please develop a template for the data? We put the template, and it's very useful. People, instead of going through the tool, first go through the tutorials, and then they took the template, and they do not enter into the tool until they have a clear idea of what they need, okay? Also, we are getting other type, more technical feedback, but this is the type of feedback we request from the users, okay? So as usual, I mean, we achieved the awareness level, the correct awareness level. It's 80–70%. I may say it's a good figure. We need to increment users, okay? So you are all welcome to join the community, and at any point, drop us an email, and hey, I need your help. I don't know from where should I start, or I don't know. And what we are doing is really, okay, go hand by hand through all the steps, give me the intervention, give me even the data, and we can sign any agreement about confidential, privacy, or whatever. We have signed this with industry, we have signed this with some regions, and we do develop the case together. And at the end of the process, if you don't like it, the results, or you don't like the tool, and you think it's not possible to improve it, it's fine. But we have not received any, let's say, hey, I hate this tool, it's useless. What we notice is that when people start using the tool and understand better the tool, they may put it into their workflow. This is our aim, to make the tool something useful for the community, and that they can be introduced into the workflow, of the institutions, okay? As I was saying, we have now 7 cases. There are other coming, okay? So a big thanks for those who have been the front runners and the guinea pigs of the tool, okay? We have learned a lot from you, from your questions, from your doubts. And I will go very quick through one use case, is the use case of Badalona Serveis Assistencials, which is integrated care area in Badalona, a city close to Barcelona. It's a reference site within also the reference site of Catalonia, and they have conducted 3 use cases. In this case, we are presenting the one related to integrated care, okay? And I know the questions here. Integrated care is too complex to be analyzed. You are not capturing this and that. No, I mean, there is not perfect evaluation. You cannot capture with the same tool all the nuances of an intervention. So you may have other frameworks, other type of evaluation to assess what you want. I mean, if you want to assess organizational change, I guess a cost-effectiveness analysis is not the best tool to do that, okay? But if you want to analyze the full intervention, which includes a part on organizational change and the impact, yes, you can go for a cost-effectiveness analysis. In this case, was an FP7 project, and what we did is, and here is another, I think, misunderstanding, okay, with other tools, let's say in the market, quotes, okay. What we have done is take the data from this intervention. This data was collected using the MAST framework. So there is no tension between MAFAPE and MAST, because the information you collect with the MAST framework can be adapted and adopted into the MAFAPE. So there is no tension at all. You have done a nice work collecting all the information, or most of the information required in MAST. Great. You have the raw material to run this type of analysis. MAST, as far as I know, does not give you a cost-effectiveness analysis at the end of the day. You can do it because you have the data, but it does not give you that. You can use the data, use the tool, and obtain a cost-effectiveness or cost-utility analysis. The same happened with other tools like the EAST, the one developed by Empirica. It can be somehow adapted in a way that using the same data with no extra effort, you can conduct a cost-effectiveness, cost-utility analysis. In this case, we were analyzing ICT-enabled integrated care services, okay? So the intervention, I mean, this is the good thing also about this tool is that we are not reinventing the wheel. Whoever, everyone who has worked on the health technology assessment or health assessment or health economics, or they know what is a Markovian model, more or less. They are familiar. So the tool is flexible but very robust in the sense that it's, let's say, back up on a robust method, okay? So as usual, in this type of methods, you have the intervention group, the Colton group, and the two, in this case, the two intervention types, okay? The first screen of the tool, when you enter the tool and you want to start assessing, is just putting some information, some description about the intervention. Another thing about this tool that I think is useful, because some users have told us, is that especially for startups and companies that are not familiar with cost-effectiveness analysis, they are focusing on developing X technology or X intervention. The fact that you start using the tool allows you to start thinking about the type of questions you may have for a health authority or from a healthcare authority, okay? So it was very nice in Madrid, it was, one engineer was saying like, well, for me the tool, it opened a new world. I mean, I'm very good on what I did, what I'm doing, which is about IT, but I didn't have a clue about cost effectiveness, quality of life, and all these concepts that they may not be familiar with that. So the tool allowed the user, especially those who are not familiar, to get, let's say, familiar with this concept that at certain point, he or she may need it to sell their product. I guess if you go to a health technology agency and you ask, hey, would you like to use this technology? They may ask, hey, what is the cost effectiveness of this? So it somehow is not just about raising awareness, but also the tool may allow to increase the, let's say, the capacity of the people to think in terms of, let's say, health technology assessment or health impact assessment or just assessment, okay? So first screen, information, basic information, like the type of demographic, geographical distribution, the type, description of the intervention, type of study you have conducted. Again, the level of the evidence needed to conduct this is very heterogeneous. You can conduct the study with no information, just with an idea, and going to the literature and checking the parameters you need, or with a randomized control trial, and at the end you get the data from a perfect blind control group and you input the data. The tool allows you to do both. In any case, you can mark what type of a study, what type of evaluation you have conducted. And you can even put others, pre-commercial assessment, based on secondary sources. How it works, and this is where the Markovian models enter, okay? So the conceptual approach, I think, is quite simple, in the sense that you have initial health status, okay? You are dead, we are all moving towards this, and you are sick. We are improving this. Now it's 3 stages, we are putting it 5 stages, because we know that in some cases the intervention is not like whether, hey, I'm in a good shape, I'm sick, I move to sickness, and then I'm dead. No, in some cases, you are sick. We are talking about integrated care. You could be with several chronic conditions and so on and so forth. So the probability that you are healthy, let's say, is not very high. So you need more health status, okay? So what we are doing what the tool does is it calculates the probabilities that you move from a good health status to sick and to death. And it calculates all these probabilities. The probability from going to here, here, to here, to here, from here to here, and you see this piece are the probabilities of going from one stage to the other. These probabilities are calculated through the whole life of the patients, okay? Because there is a data set of mortality and demographics that calculate these transitions based on the probabilities you have. Then you do your intervention, which is an innovation, and you may have different parameters. So what we are comparing is these probabilities with these probabilities, okay? So basically, most of the time in the interventions that are conducted in the FPs, Horizon, in most of the interventions, you can extract this type of information. And if you don't have certain parameters, I mean, if we are talking, for example, about diabetes, okay? I mean, you can go to the literature, and I'm 99.9% sure that you will find something related to your intervention that you can use if you don't have this piece, okay? How you input the data? How you input the data about this? Oops, this was not a good idea. Sorry about that. How you input these stages on the model? So the second step in the tool is to input these stages. So you will have a screen where you can input the probabilities of transitioning between this stage for the control group and from your intervention group. The way you define the intervention group and the control group is flexible. In some cases, the control group in a longitudinal study could be the baseline, and then you have the intervention group at the end. In other cases, you have a real control group where you did the intervention to this group, and to this other group, you did not perform any kind of intervention. So the way you define the control group and the intervention group, it depends on the type of intervention you are conducting, okay? In any case, you have to put this. First, the number of users. Oops, here we go. No. The number, here. The number of users in each of the groups, and then the probabilities obtaining through a randomized control trial, obtaining through a meta-analysis or a systematic review, or just your guess. Is like, my guess is that I want to achieve this, okay? The quality of your assessment, it will be based on your judgment. So, and then you can, it's a transparent process, so you can explain the level, let's say, of the quality of your assessment to anyone, explaining all the steps you have taken, okay? Then you put the discounting cost of the intervention and the discounting outcomes, because the model, these 3 stages, is run till all the people are supposed to be, let's say, dead. This is an improvement we get from industry, for example. They told us, hey, for me, the intervention period could not be the life of the person. The intervention period, I need just 1 year. So you do not need to run the model through all the life of the individuals, but just in 2 years, 1 year. So we are improving also the tool, allowing the users to include this type of intervention. Again, control group intervention. So if you get the logic of the Markov models and the transition and the probabilities, these are the type of parameters, the incidence and the recovery for both control group and intervention group that are required, okay? And if you have the data, you can calculate easily these parameters, and otherwise send us the data and we can calculate it for you. Cost is a big issue, okay? So the tool now allows to input 2 types of costs, the one-off intervention cost and the intervention cost per person per year. Somehow we are capturing the fixed cost and the variable cost. This is the probabilities. Again, the cost, I know that you need a 3 years project to assess certain costs, but I'm sure that you have some proxies, okay? So it's a question of getting the best possible evidence I have from my data set, from my organization, or from the literature, okay? But there is always a way that you can calculate a cost. In this case, they were considering the time spent by professionals, the installation of the software, the cost of the set of devices, and the intervention recurring costs. They were considering telecommunication costs, software costs, and so on and so forth. So the tool allows you to calculate this cost in the way you consider more appropriate. The way the information is collected is transparent, so at the end of the day, you can report to anyone what you have input into each of the costs. And this for both, for the control group and the intervention group. In addition, the tool allows you also to capture what we call societal cost. So we know that sometimes these interventions are increasing the cost of the healthcare system, but may decrease the cost for the person, let's say. So avoiding traveling to the hospital, avoiding going from the hospital to the primary care with a CD-ROM. So this type of cost that the healthcare system is not taking into account can be accounted in the societal cost. So at a certain point, you can balance also this into the tool, okay? The cost for both, the baseline and the intervention group, and for both, for all the different stages, when you are in a good shape, when you are sick, and then when you are dead. There was another or at the beginning, a key discussion about, I really need quality of life to run. So the best measure or the best way to measure utility is quality of life. I cannot do it. If I don't have quality of life, I cannot do a cost utility analysis. Yes, you can, okay? In this case, they did not capture this quality of life, okay? If you have it, right, use it. But in this case, quality of life was not, let's say, recorded, was not gathered. But there was gathered this Bartle index that somehow is a proxy for quality of life in the case of these patients. We went to the literature and we see that this Bartle index can be transformed into quality of life, so can be input into the model as a utility, as a proxy for utility. And again, utility before the intervention, utility after the intervention, and the change in the utility. For what? For the control and for the intervention group in both, in the baseline and in the deteriorated status. Okay? So in most of the interventions, this type of information is somehow collected. And if it's not collected, again, go to the meta-analysis, go to a systematic review, and I'm sure that you can find a proxy. Here, the tool allows you to just put these parameters. Another key point, at the beginning, people were thinking, wow, this is too data intensive. No, we are not talking about putting into the system microdata. We are talking about putting into the system parameters. So there is no need to share the microdata with anyone. There is just a need to calculate parameters so the model can run. And this is the type of results you will obtain, okay? The incremental cost by age. So it shows how the cost goes down or up with per person by age. This is why the model, this three-stage model, is run till people, let's say, are dead, and you have the curve. And this is the most important results you obtain, okay? Here is, you have the quality, so the cost effectiveness, and the cost and the utility, and whether your intervention is located in the 4 quadrants we were discussing before. Okay, so in this case, the intervention was better, but was more expensive, okay? When we were talking about healthcare cost, but if to this we add the cost also of the societal cost, we see that the intervention goes down a little bit, so the willingness to pay of this organization for this intervention is let's say, is positive. So they will go for the intervention. They will, let's say, fund the intervention. This threshold, you can move it. This willingness to pay is up to each, let's say, depending on the system, depending on the health system type, health system scheme. You may have a fixed value for this, or you may play a little bit with these values, depending on the organization you are. In any case, this gives you the idea of whether your innovation it's going into the right direction or not. Imagine that the point is here or here. Okay? You may have a problem. You may need to reconsider the intervention. You may need to reconsider the way you implemented this innovation. Or you may need to reconsider the cost model or the business case, like, hey, with this huge cost, it's impossible. I cannot make it. There is a need to decrease the cost. The tool also allows you to run sensitivity analysis. So you can modify the parameters as much as you want to see whether a change in the cost or in the utility moves let's say, the base case from here to here, from here to here, or here. So somehow it allows you also to run your own, it allows you to run your own sensitivity analysis to see the quality of your results, okay? Lessons learned from this case. In all the cases, we learn something, okay? In this case, the first lesson learned was we do not need, first lesson learned, I must say is we can use MAST without any problem. I mean, thanks MAST for being there, because it allows us to extract the data in a structured way. So there is no problem if you have utilized or you are considering utilizing MAST framework to gather the data and then use MAFE. It's the opposite. They are a nice couple, I would say, okay? The second point is like quality of life. People were saying, no, it's cost utility, so you really need quality of life. No, in some cases, quality of life is not capturing the utility. And we are working on a case with the Asturias region on blind people. So you can imagine if at a certain point you are blind, your quality of life, if you ask someone, it's like, no, it's not improving. The surgery or the chirurgical process, well, very well, is cost effective, but if you measure this utility in terms of the quality of the life of the patient, you cannot see any benefit, okay? We are checking which other variable is useful to check the utility. So you don't have quality of life in your data set? Fine. Let's find a proxy for utility, okay? The health conditions. In the case of certain interventions, especially those related to comorbidities or the group of, in the pyramid, the 5% or 8% of the population, three stages are not enough. You cannot capture whether you are well, you deteriorate, or you are dead, because probably you are deteriorated, and most likely you will be more deteriorated, and it's difficult that you go to a well health status, okay? So we are working already in a model with 5 different stages. So you can put more nuances into the system, okay? So with all the use cases, and again, thanks of those who have been brave enough to use the tool, we are taking lessons learned and improving the tool. So we are doing a process of co-creation. So next time you enter into the tool, your problem has been solved by another user. And just to finalize before questions/coffee, please join the community. Don't be shy. It's not about awareness. We are all aware about many issues. It's about using the tool. And your input is needed if we want to move from, let's say, innovation to effective innovation. Thank you very much. Did you balance questions about Mafei with coffee at this time? But did you have questions?
I'm struggling after listening to that. I've been aware of it for some time. We've got a project. We're thinking of using the tool, but and I'm probably the only one here that thinks this. It looks really scientific, and I don't understand it, and I understand it now less than I did before, and I wonder if is there a sort of a mini version of this we could use, or something that was a little bit simpler.
Okay, now I really need coffee, because after an hour you are telling me that this is even worse than before. I really need the coffee. You want to use the tool? Just drop me an email. You want to use the tool? Tell me about your intervention. You're saying it's too scientific. We are talking about the evidence. So we need to be rigorous. There is no simple cost effectiveness analysis. And if you go to certain countries and you want to use this technology into certain healthcare, you need to go through that. So there is no shortcut. I'm sorry about that. Obviously, with your help, if we try to work together with a use case, I may improve the way I'm explaining the tool. I may improve the tool, the materials that are on the website to improve the tool, okay? But I need your input, because it's very difficult. For me, it's not enough, because I know it's difficult. What I need is 1 hour of one day. Just play me your intervention, you give me a few data, I run the case for you, I give you the result, and I'm sure that you will understand it. But there is no shortcut. I'm sorry. I'm not talking on behalf of the Commission. I'm talking as a researcher / consultant. I'm sorry. There is no shortcut. if you want to run a cost utility analysis, you need to go through this. There is no magic bullet. There is no plug and play. It's an assessment. You need to put some effort on that. Whether it's worth or not, it depends on where you want to go. So 1 hour of your life is what I'm asking. I know that you are very busy, but 1 hour of your life, it's...
I think it's not about having shortcuts. I think it's about thinking, it's understanding and then thinking, are there levels at which you can use it? I think it's not about shortcuts, but a smaller dip into trying to see the... So a smaller dip into using the tool. It's not necessarily about shortcuts, because we know we need to come up with evidence for scaling things up. That goes without saying in all countries, but it's trying to get our heads around how the information we can get can be fed into this.
Yes, no, I perfectly get your point. I mean, and as I said, this simple example from one case, like, do you want me to use the tool? Please put a template with all the parameters before I even log in. Okay, it's clear that it's very straightforward. We didn't notice, sorry, but we implemented. So if you're telling me, hey, I don't understand Markovian models, I need a way to understand it better, and the video, the tutorial that is there is not enough. Okay, tell me, and I will implement something, because I'm sure that if you're having this problem, many other users are having the same. But I need your help to identify the main weakness and solve them. So that's why 1 hour of your life just telling me this, and this, and in a week we implement it. And it has been the case. That's why I'm so confident on, please tell me your problems, and I'm sure that we can try to solve it.
Okay, this is a comment on, a general comment, and not just from MAFEIP, because I was the project coordinator of SmartCare, and we use the Empirica model. The problem is when you evaluate innovation at the very early stage, and the bad news is that, yes, it's more expensive. This is the point. So I think when you use this tool, and this can be a question, how can you evaluate your cost benefit in 5 years, 10 years? This is the main point for decision maker. And of course, this is very useful, I know. But yes, when I go to my government, they say, okay, it's more expensive, but in 5 years, how is the effect?
So you have the curves on the one hand, okay? On the other hand, you have to prove that, yes, it may be more expensive, but if we go into a situation where we are going to be the continent with more elderlies, where you are going to, there is a silver economy going there, so there's really about willingness to pay. And this is not related, unfortunately, with a tool, but with a policy decision. So for me, if you're asking me, it's like, for me, if I'm a decision maker, I know that innovation could be costly in the short term, and in the long term, it may have an impact, as you see from that. But the problem that I'm seeing in many, many cases is that let's say that the valuation is very weak. Is very weak. So between non-evaluation, weak evaluation, MAFEIP, and a randomized, perfect blind randomized control trial that you cannot do because you don't have the budget, you don't have the time, and so on and so forth, just put your place into this continuum, and then hopefully the healthcare authority will see that you are moving from no evaluation to this, and you may, but it's not a technical question. Yeah, thanks.
One question and one comment from my side, and then we can just enjoy the coffee afterwards. The question is, which are the advantages of MAFEIP compared with other evaluation systems? So you can finally decide to use it. And the comment is, we are working afterwards at 3 o'clock together with Paco, with group A2 on false prevention, because he is supporting the preparation of some use cases, and also B3 integrated care. And I wanted to invite all of you that maybe are willing to know a little bit more
working with practical cases to join us as well. Of course, if B3 group doesn't mind. Okay. And that's it.
Yeah. Related to the second comment, in the session of the afternoon, I will not talk. I will listen. Okay? That's because I need your feedback, okay? The first question, I think there is not a competition on models. It's like we cannot, why using this and why using that? I was putting the sample of MAST because I was aware there were certain tensions between, well, first we were using this, second we were using that. What are we doing? I mean, what we are doing is trying to provide the best possible evidence with the easiest tool, let's say. So which type of evaluation should I conduct? Whatever is requested for your project, I would say. If you are going to sell it to, I don't know, to Catalonia, you have an agency, health technology assessment, you will need a cost effectiveness analysis, okay? Maybe this tool is fine. If you are going to sell your startup to Google, or I don't know, maybe you need another type of analysis. So my first answer is, please do some kind of evaluation. Don't spend too much time on which one, just start doing some assessment. And the advantage of MAFAPE compared to other systems is that it's online, it's based on traditionally health technology assessment methods, and it gives you a figure. That, I would say, healthcare authorities must understand, I mean. So it's not like, yeah, my tool is very usable, okay. And you go to the general manager of a hospital deciding whether it took this type of telemonitoring system or that. Okay, it's fine. What do you mean by usability? Blah, 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 blah. No, my tool is cost effective. So I guess the general manager will be more familiar with a single figure telling it's cost effective than with a bunch of indicators telling this, this, and this. But again, they are compatible. You can conduct both. It's up to you in the sense that who is the target of your results, let's say, of the assessment.